Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about Doubler. So Doubler is a really cool plugin. It adds a lot of stereo width to your vocal and it makes it more pleasing to the ear. So basically what it's going to be is like, a tighter echo. So let's take a look at what it's doing here. I'm going to turn it all the way to the max just so you can hear what it sounds like. You see, it's a really tight echo. Almost you don't really hear the delayed vocal like the H delay where it'd be like, you the girl I should've found. You know what I mean? Like, you don't hear that delay that you would hear in the other delays. It's a lot tighter. It's there to add stereo width. So I'm gonna walk you through what all this stuff does. Basically, on the right, it's just a basic EQ. You can boost certain frequencies. I like to boost the highs, and sometimes I cut the lows, but it also has the REQ on it that I talked about in the previous video, so you don't necessarily have to do that here. These settings right here, this direct is actually the main vocal. So I actually like to keep this at a really low gain, so -48, and like pan it a little bit, but nothing crazy. Like around 0.5. You can kind of play with that. I like to keep the line on yes and the feedback really low and the range at 80 hertz. So I like to keep all this stuff. Basically, you can copy these settings because I think these settings work for me basically. Some people like to actually turn this direct off so you don't have any direct when you use the plugin, because the direct is going to be on your main vocal. So it's up to you. You don't have to keep the direct on, but if you do, I kind of like starting from these settings. The main thing is actually going to be these voices. So those control the two voices that are going to be doubling. So on this graph right here in the middle, you can see basically kind of like a visual representation of the vocals. So what I like to do, I keep the gain at 0, but I like to pan one all the way to the left. As you can see on this graph right here, it'll control, the panning. I like to keep it, -45, 45, and that's going to give you that width. Then this delay is going to control, how delayed the vocal is. So you can play with it. I like to have them both set at different delays. From there on, you can kind of play with it, just kind of see what fits your vocal the best. After that, there's just feedback, which is basically, the buildup of the echoes. I like to keep it 0 because it keeps it cleaner, but you can play with it, increase it more, decrease it. This octave will decrease it an octave. You can do that if you want. I normally don't do that. This detune is going to detune your vocal either up or down by a certain amount of, semitones. So I normally detune one up 6 and one down 6. It gives it a really nice effect, but you can play with this as well. But that's going to add a little bit of more character to your vocal, because it's basically layering your vocal with two different, tunings of the same vocal. So it's going to give it, kind of a more layered effect. And then you have the depth and the rate, which is going to control the movement of those two voices. I like to keep it at 0 and have the rate pretty slow, but you can have more movement if you want. You can create more depth if you want, to create more depth in your recording. But I normally don't do that here. I do that in other plugins, so it's up to you. But this would kind of be a good place to start if you just wanted to, start out with a basic, double setting. It's kind of industry standard. I got these settings from this guy called Alex Toomey, and he mixes for like Young Thug, Gunna, all of them. So really legendary mixer, and these are kind of his basic settings when he puts it on the doubler. It's really nice, but good place to start. But from here you can kind of play with it, create your own sound. So yeah, it's pretty much it when it comes to this plugin. I'll see you guys in the next video.